Friends, good evening and welcome to Dazed After Dark, where at least here in Los Angeles, it's late night. We hang out at the end of the week, metaphorically let our hair down, and talk about questions that came up during this week's videos in the comments or what you have to throw out here during the live stream. So please don't be shy. When you add the word Xenu to your question or comment and it gets thrown up on the screen, we all take a hit of our favorite poison and throw up the little graphic that says Xenu Marlene. I'm sure you guys that have been following know all about that, so we won't beat a dead horse. And as usual, we have philosophy kicking off with the great questions that stimulate the mind. So, well, first of all, let me just say hi to a couple of you guys here first before we bounce right into this. Clearwater, it's good to see you, my friend. Best part of my week. Awesome. Mine too, man, because don't have to go into presentation mode and worry about flipping around a bunch of slides. And it's really cool to be able to actually have an interaction with you guys. Hello from Pennsylvania. Hello from Los Angeles. Okay, what else we got here? Oh, by the way, we have Cricket in the background. Cricket, do you mind? Can you give me a head nod or a head not if you don't want me to throw you on the screen here real quick to see you and the cutie pie? Hell yeah. So Cricket's been kind enough to help us out in the background by starring your questions. It takes a massive load off on my end on having to do all this shit. So I just wanted to say, thank you for your help, Cricket. And please show us Elvira, the super cutie pit bull. Look at that creature. Are you shitting me? Elvira. Wait, if you're quiet, we can hear her snore. What a rough fucking life. Oh my God, I need to get a dog. Cricket, thanks for the help. Elvira, I know it's a rough life, but try to hang in there. Looks like you're in good hands, but man, what a rough life you live. Okay, philosophy, let's start off with your question. And I really do appreciate your help, my friend, because you always come in hot with the good questions. And this is going to lead into something I've been wanting to talk about forever that surprisingly we have not talked about on the channel. Philosophy, can you please talk more about this idea of I'd rather be dead than incapable. I heard you mention it once and it stuck out to me as very ruthless. This comes from the infamous policy called Keeping Scientology Working philosophy. And let me actually get a view here where you guys can see that. So this is the very first policy that you read on all the major courses, not the $50 or $100 introductory courses like the communication course, the low level one and the low level other courses. But once you hit kind of the professional courses, and I'll spit some of them out real quick, even though this probably won't make sense. This would be the professional TR course, the upper indocs course, PTSSP course, the student hat course where you learn how to study, etc. At the beginning of every single one of these courses that you do, as well as the auditor training, etc., from the very beginning all the way through a Scientologist career, this bulletin is pounded into your head and it sets the stage for how serious Scientology is. And it's literally one of the most powerful re-indoctrination tools that they have by reading this over and over and over again so that you don't think this is some light game in Scientology, but it's a deadly serious activity. So let's go over some of this here. And I will remove your question because I think we got it. So from the wiki page, it says Keeping Scientology Working is a document. It's a policy letter in Scientology written on white paper with green ink, also known as green on whites in Scientology. So KSW is a document written by cult founder L. Ron Hubbard in 1965 and usually referred to within Scientology as a policy. It's frequently described within the cult movement as the most important policy in the cult of Scientology. It ostensibly serves as the keystone for every action and is mandated to be presented as the first document at the beginning of every single course of study in the cult. The document was reissued in 1970 and again in 1980. It lays out 10 points concerning the exact application and preservation of standard tech and Dianetics in Scientology and the eradication of, quote, non-standard tech, more commonly referred to in Scientology as squirreling. So anything else here? Okay, I'm going to go over this policy a little bit, but it's too long to go into fantastic detail. But here it is, my friends, the infamous policy. And I would say that Hubbard wrote this because, let's be honest here, the tech does not actually work. There's not a single clear, which is sold to you in the book Dianetics and on the Bridge to Total Freedom, and there's not a single operating Thetan. Those are the confidential levels that has ever come forward and ever been proven to exist. So it's a pseudoscience. He's selling you abilities that no one's actually achieved. False advertising, anyone? So with that in mind, because the tech wasn't working and Hubbard's being followed and investigated more and more, which is why he took his to the ship via the Sea Org in 1967. You notice this policy comes out around 1970 when people are getting on his ass and they're understanding that it's a con, and he has to keep making up new levels and new excuses and put in new intelligence and paramilitary and investigatory apparatus to defend against all the criticism, Hubbard being locked up and it being seen for what it really is, a fraud. So he gets more and more paranoid. And this policy, where you can see his rantings, you can tell that he is blaming it on other people not applying the tech correctly, because it always works all the time. And you can see his fanaticism and projection and deflection as to why the tech actually doesn't work, and coming clean that it's a con, and instead blames it on its flock. And like I said, this is beat into our brains as Scientologists. So get a load of this shit, man. I'm just going to read some of this. I also want to point out that everything in Scientology, like you're seeing here, the policy letters that are the green on whites, and the HCOBs, or Hubbard Communication Office Bulletins, which are tech policies, how do I even say this? So we have green on whites, which is the policy, how Scientology is to be delivered. And then we have the red on whites, the HCOBs, which are how the tech works. And if you notice, the color actually does matter, which we can go into later, but it's structured like a military command here. You got all the little definitions over here, which I would say you have to look up every word here. So how many of you know what remimio means? Do you know what St. Hill students are? Do you know what a sign org sec hat is? I don't even know if that's right. ASSN. It's been a while since I've looked these up. In other words, you have to clear all these words. So you're brand new in Scientology. You're hit with this bulletin. It looks like a military kind of order, which adds to the seriousness of it, I would suggest. The color actually is relevant. And then this is how you get the Scientology words, this new reality set into your mind via word programming, by having to look up all these words. So before you even know anything about Scientology, you're going to learn what a case supervisor hat is. You're going to have to look up in their dictionary the DAP's hat. You're going to have to look up staff member hat. So you can see already, just by reading the policies, you're going to get Scientology nomenclature, these new words that you learn to only think within, just by clearing the words at the very beginning of every policy. And again, they're intimidating because of the way that they're laid out, not least because Hubbard's copying the military in many ways. So note, neglect of this policy letter has caused great hardship on staffs, has cost countless millions, and made it necessary in 1970 to engage in an all-out international effort to restore basic Scientology over the world. Within 5 years after the issue of this policy letter, with me off the lines, violation has almost destroyed orgs. In other words, it's all the staff fault. They're not running standard tech, and you motherfuckers are the reason why I have to issue this insane bulletin so you can get tech and policy in. Carrying on, quickie grades, that means doing the grades and the bridge very fast and not doing it properly. Quickie grades entered in and denied gains to tens of thousands of cases. Therefore, actions which neglect or violate this policy letter are high crimes, resulting in ComEvs, that's Committee of Evidences, on administrators and executives. Now, we've talked by covering the Danny Masterson criminal trial and the civil trial about the high crimes that the Jane Does, for example, were subjected to by reporting on rapes outside of the cult. So you can see already you're getting indoctrinated. You just signed up for a communication course, for God's sakes, and you're already being told and hit with words like high crimes and how serious this is. So you can see right off the bat how the indoctrination goes in. I just want to say something on this real quick. This was really heady to me when I read this as a kid. And this also explains, again, why when you sign up for the professional TR course or the PTSSP course, or even the student hat, where you're going to learn how to study correctly, it's this kind of shit that you're seeing, this policy letter in particular, and the various ones that follow all throughout the courses in Scientology, that take it out of the realm of self-help and I'm just went into Scientology to do a communication course because that's what you're sold. And now, right on day one, you're being told how serious this is. You're being threatened with high crimes. And if you go against Scientology policy, in other words, you're being set into this world within a world where you're not just going to learn how to communicate better with your friends or get rid of the suppressive people out of your life. You're making a dead serious commitment. And there's already crimes and shit related when, again, you're just there to fucking, learn how to communicate with your mates a little bit better. This had an incredible effect on me as a kid, man, and it's bringing back some memories. So anyways, he says that therefore actions which neglect or violate this policy letter are high crimes resulting in committee of evidences. That's their court within a court system, which is completely rigged to gaslight you and make you agree with the shit all over again. Committee of evidences on administrators and executives. It is not entirely a tech matter, as its neglect destroys orgs and caused a 2-year slump. It is the business of every staff member to enforce it. And here it is, man. Just the writing alone and the way it's laid out, military-esque, and the color of green on white already sets the seriousness of it. All levels, keeping Scientology working. And again, as a new student, you have to clear all these words, meaning you have to go to their dictionary and find out what HCO-sec means, what communicator hat check means, etc. We have, for some time, passed the point of achieving uniformly workable technology. The only thing now is getting the technology applied. If you can't get the technology applied, then you can't deliver what's promised. It's as simple as that. If you can get the technology applied, you can deliver what's promised. The only thing you can get uprated for by students or PCs is no results. Trouble spots occur only when there are no results. Again, Scientology always works. It's flipped back on you and all sorts of high crimes and punishments if you don't apply the tech correctly. Hubbard's always right. Attacks from governments or monopolies occur only when there are no results or bad results. Therefore, the road before Scientology is clear, and its ultimate success is assured if the technology is applied. And here's the 10 main points. 1, having the correct technology. 2, knowing the technology. 3, knowing it is correct. 4, teaching correctly the correct technology. 5, applying the technology. 6, seeing that the technology is correctly applied. 7, hammering out of existence incorrect technology. 8, knocking out incorrect applications. 9, closing the door on any possibility of incorrect technology. And 10, closing the door on incorrect application. And then he goes into some rambles about how everybody's fucking it up and how to apply the above points and how it's everybody's fault because the tech isn't working. And I just want to bring it finally to the point before we get on to the next question, because we could spend forever on this, about what philosophy asked about the hardship question. In fact, let me bring that back here on screen so we don't lose everybody. So philosophy's asking, can you please talk more about the idea of we'd rather have you dead than incapable. So let's get to that point. I'm going to link this policy letter in the description box so you can read it on your own if you want to, but it's a hell of a heady policy, shall we say. Before we get to that point, let me grab a couple of things to make more sense of this here. So the common denominator of a group is the reactive mind. Thetans without banks, that's the reactive mind. I'd also like to point out that since he was a hypnotist, he changes words like reactive mind to words like banks as well. So getting rid of your bank also means getting rid of your bank account when this is done, when the suggestions go under the hypnosis that Scientology induces. Thetans without banks have different responses. They only have their banks in common. They agree then only on bank principles. Just think of the word bank as like programming or collective thought agreement. So person to person, the bank is identical. So constructive ideas are individual and seldom get broad agreement in a human group. An individual must rise above an avid craving for agreement from a humanoid group to get anything decent done. The bank agreement has been what has made Earth a hell. And if you're looking for hell and found Earth, it would certainly serve. War, famine, agony, and disease has been the lot of man. Right now, the great governments of Earth had developed the means of frying every man, woman, and child on the planet. That is bank. This is the result of collective thought agreement. The decent, pleasant things on this planet come from individual actions and ideas that have somehow gotten by the group idea. For that matter, look how we ourselves are attacked by public opinion media. Yet there is no more ethical group on the planet than ourselves. Again, as a kid and an artist and a dreamer who already thought society was kind of full of shit and didn't want to work the 9 to 5er, he's speaking to me, man, about this collective thought agreement. As a kid, these are the ideas that are going in my head where I'm saying, yeah, that this actually does make sense. At least some of it does. Well, it's also kind of a little tyrannical and insane at the same time. So let me scroll down to the point that philosophy was bringing up about how this is beating our brains and we'd rather have you dead than incapable. So let me see here. So again, he goes on some more examples of how, the points aren't being applied and it's all about the tech works. Don't question me. Just get the shit to actually, work and go in. Okay, so I think I missed it. So let me roll back. Let's see. Okay. This gets pretty intense, man. Just stand by so we can find this fucking thing here. When somebody enrolls, again, this is the very first course that you sign up for on the major courses. You just signed up to communicate with your mates better, and now you find you're in a cult. You're in a group where it's not just a communication course. You're involved in something entirely different. When somebody enrolls, consider he or she is joined up for the duration of the universe. Never permit a, quote, open-minded approach. Like to point something out here again on the mind control aspect. Open-minded is normally a good thing to have. It keeps your critical thinking alive and everything else. And open-minded is, as you can see here, is reframed to be a bad thing in Scientology. So never permit an open-minded approach. If they're going to quit, let them quit fast. Stand by for a drink of water. If they enrolled, meaning, if your mate brought you down to Scientology one day to help you communicate better and just wants to check it all out, if they enrolled, they're aboard. And if they're aboard, they're here on the same terms as the rest of us. Win or die in the attempt. Never let them be half-minded about being Scientologists. The finest organizations in history have been tough, dedicated organizations. Not one namby-pamby little bitch, not one mamby-pamby bunch of panty-waist dilettantes have ever made anything. It's a tough universe. The social veneer makes it seem mild, but only the tigers survive. And even they have a hard time. We will survive because we are tough and we are dedicated. When we do instruct somebody properly, he becomes more and more tiger. When we instruct half-mindedly and are afraid to offend, scared to enforce, we don't make students into good Scientologists, and that, of course, lets everybody down. Hang on a second. When Mrs. Pattycake comes to us to be taught, turn that wandering doubt in her eye into a fixed, dedicated glare, and she'll win, and we'll all win. Humor her, and we all die a little. The proper instruction attitude here is, and here it is, philosophy. Man, does this bring back memories, because I have read this policy, as of most hardcore Scientologists who have been in forever, hundreds and hundreds of times. The proper instruction attitude is, quote, you're here, so you're a frickin' Scientologist. Now we're going to make you into an expert auditor no matter what happens. We'd rather have you dead than incapable. Now fit that into the economics of the situation and lack of adequate time, and you see the cross we have to bear. But we won't have to bear it forever. The bigger we get, the more economics and time we'll have to do our job. And the only things which can prevent us from getting that big first are areas from 1 to 10. Keep those in mind, and we'll be able to grow fast. And as we grow, our shackles will be less and less. Failing to keep 1 to 10, will make us grow less. So the ogre, which might eat us up, is not the government, which I'm running from and I'm hiding from, or the high priest, which I am secretly a high priest. It's our possible failure to retain and practice our technology. So then again, he goes in on what an example of how a supervisor fucks up on not putting in 1 and 2, et cetera, et cetera. And then here's the thing that I've had beaten into my brain and could probably memorize or probably recite backwards. Stand by for a cigarette. We're almost done here, guys. Then we'll hit a Xenu and get on to the next questions. But I really want to spend some time on this because we've never covered it remarkably on the channel. And this is the most important policy. And we'll probably give you some insight as to why it's a doomsday cult when you're going in just to sign up for the communication course. God damn it, we're not playing some minor game in Scientology. It isn't cute or something to do for lack of something better. The whole goddamn agonized future of this planet, every man, woman, and child on it, and your own fucking destiny for the next endless trillions of years depend on what the fuck you do here and now with and in Scientology. This is a deadly serious activity, motherfuckers. And if we miss getting out of the trap now, we may never again have another chance. Remember, this is our first chance to do so in all the endless trillions of years of the past. Don't muff it up now, you asshole, because it seems unpleasant or unsocial to do 7, 8, 9, and 10. Do them, and God damn it, we will win. The nutter L. Ron Hubbard, founder of the cult. So there you go, guys. That's a little light policy to get you introduced to begin your Scientology career. That either scares people off because they're like, what the fuck did you drag me into, as they're saying to their mate who brought them there, or like Jason Begay or me. It was such a bold claim and so out there, and I never heard anything so electrifying and so confidently delivered. I didn't believe it yet, but let me see what this is pulling me in. So let me see if these bold claims are actually true. Hope that answers your question, philosophy. Okay. Let me remove some stars here. Oh, I got to throw you guys in the chat. What the hell am I doing? Sorry about that. Welcome, friends. Please say hi. Okay, thank you very much, Outback. We need a frickin' Xenu Marlene. So if you're just joining us or you're new to this particular segment of the channel, every time someone throws up Xenu Marlene, either in the question, comment, or just a freebie, we take a hit of our favorite poison, and I attempt to throw, where the hell is that slide? And I attempt to throw the Xenu Marlene thing in the background, which is always hard to see. Okay, so there you go. Again, my favorite poison is a clogged pipe filled with 34% THC weed called ice cream cookies. Let's indulge. It's almost like there's some Scientology-esque metaphysical shit happening around here. Because did you notice right when I went to hit that, the fucking light for no reason yet again exploded and went hot? Stand by while I correct it. Okay. Check, check. Not sure why the hell it's doing that. It happened the last time too. Okay, so thank you for that, Xenu Marlene Outback. As I feel interrupted, let me take another hit. Rosebud Amy, what's going down, my friend? Oh my God. Jesus. Question, Doug, was there any good at all in Scientology? Great question, Rosebud. That's been asked more than any other question. And yes, the answer is yes. Hello, Marilyn and Cricket. Okay, that's the most my arthritic fingers can type tonight. Okay, man, thanks for popping that out here. This is a very controversial question, Rosebud, because I would say, yes, of course, there's some good in Scientology. But do you need Scientology to learn how to communicate better? Do you need to learn how to spot sociopaths via their technology? Do you do you become more intelligent because you look up a lot of words in Scientology? I told you that policy KSW, you're already balls deep in the dictionary before you even get to read the goddamn policy anyways, because of all the little definitions you have to look up. So yes, I would say, if I'm speaking honestly, it did improve my vocabulary. It did learn, I feel like I can communicate a bit better because Scientology, people will often look away when they talk at you. They, can be a little mousy, and it's policies like KSW and being taught how to stare into another person's eyes. As a kid, I would sit across from a girl that I found attractive, and I was a geek and nervous, and I would never be able to do that in real life. But in Scientology, I was forced into many situations like that were embarrassing that I would never do otherwise. I had to go disseminate to my friends as a teenager and to try to get them to buy this freaky book called Dianetics. That took a level of confront that I would have dodged, and most people probably would have. So I will say that it that was a carryover when I got out of Scientology. And I don't think you need Scientology to be able to do these things. But yes, I would say that it's, even though it's not related to Scientology, because of what I went through, I do feel like I can communicate better. Again, not because of Scientology, not because of the TRs. I had to learn how to not stare at people all the time, how to actually speak normally. I'm not promoting that aspect. I'm talking about the carryover of looking up all the words, learning how to confront a hot chick that I might be embarrassed about. I could do these things because of what I was forced to do as a kid in very awkward situations. There's also a lot of seemingly good stuff in Scientology, which you find out later is either hypnotism, it's a trap, like the ethics conditions, which always circle back around to you seem like you're trying to work out your life with these things called ethics conditions, but they all circle back around to the cult being the most important thing to protect and to take into consideration when you're working out your life via these ethics conditions. So there's a trap and a snag in all these. The communication course, as we talked about, puts you into a hypnotic trance and sets you up for the suggestibility for the rest of the trap to work and to keep you in that trance state, sometimes for a lifetime. So there's tricks and snags in all of these. And to sum up this question the best I can, I would say it probably wouldn't be dissimilar to the military. I've never served, but if you have a camaraderie like that, if you know you're being, this is the difference. You don't know this is happening in Scientology, but when you sign up for the military, you do have some informed consent. So you're going to go through a process of being broken down and then reformed to work as one unit, right? So I imagine people coming back from the military would have a certain camaraderie, certain wins. It toughened them up. Some of these people saw battle, So I would say that, like maybe in a similar way to the military, you would get some residual benefits out of it. But was the ultimate cause worth it? Can you get those benefits elsewhere? I would say yes, and you don't need a cult to do so. I hope that answers your question. Let me pull myself. Okay, that's better. So thanks for that very stimulating question, Rosebud. I wanted to say one thing real quick. I'm not sure if she'll pop in or not. And if not, maybe we can get her on next week. But we do have a surprise guest that was scheduled to come tonight, but pop in, but something came up where you were going to get two ex-Scientologists for the price of one, and you could field questions to a lovely lady who has a deep history. Hopefully she'll pop in tonight, but if not, we'll get her on and we can go even deeper into some of these questions. I'm going to mispronounce it. Sionen, is that right? Sionen in Reese? I'm sorry if I fucked that up, my friend. Would you be willing to express your actual thoughts on spirituality, the senses, and afterlife reincarnation? Just curious and won't be offended if you don't wish to discuss it. Honestly, my friend, it's just that I don't have it worked out. Like I've explored. Let me give you a really quick answer to that, because I feel like I would be here forever trying to actually articulate that. I am going to talk about that in season 3 on the series, which I'm working on, by the way, my friends, the Raised in a Secret Society series, where I'm going to just explain to you, not preach. It's just sharing my experience. But what happened is it was organic. So I'll tell you like the conclusions that I came to or whatever, even though I'm still searching. But a nutshell about my idea about this, Sinoan, is that when I got out of Scientology, I was willing to be an atheist, a Satanist, a Christian, a nihilist, whatever the hell the truth turned out to be. I just wanted to know what it was, and I would accept it. So then how do you find out the truth, right? So my whole way of working myself out of this is, look, I've been programmed. I've had a madman's bullshit put in my head. So if I just deprogram from Scientology, if I find out how the trick was worked, if I could make sense of those I didn't even know it was hypnosis. So what happened with those wins in Scientology? How do I find out that Hubbard's a liar in one day and juxtapose that against the fact of all the wins that I got out of Scientology? How much more able it made me. Like I was obviously stuck in cognitive dissonance. So in order to find out any truth or what I believe in spirituality, or maybe not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, what I decided to do is, and this is why I've said a million times, I think that this was a great gift to have a massive midlife crisis, because I not only didn't know what my beliefs were in Scientology, I didn't know what my likes and dislikes were. I didn't know what my favorite colors were. I had so much of my true identity suppressed. and filled with ideas that aren't mine. And also, I was isolated from the world at large while being in this bubble world, that it was a great opportunity to have like a blank sheet of paper in your mind. Imagine your computer like a hard drive, and all the information that you've been using through your life, i.e., your subconscious beliefs, they're deleted. And I felt like I was age regressed to a 6-year-old, but I have an opportunity to put on this blank sheet of paper, on this new hard drive, only what I believe to be true. So I didn't have a cult to lean on anymore. My parents turned against me, so I didn't have to follow their rules anymore. And I was so booted out of society and so dissociated. I just leaned into it as an opportunity to actually be able to start from scratch and make up my self identity, decide what's going to go in my brain. What the fuck do I think is true? Not what the government, the television, my cult leader, and my parents have told me my whole life. But wow, what an opportunity to actually find this out. So I became a massively avid reader. I had all sorts of adventures leading to homelessness, couch surfing, etc. But all the while, I worked as much as I could to try to make food and make the rent when I had a place or wherever I was staying at. And then all my extra time was spent full time reading books, trying to get up to the normal knowledge that you guys know about, i.e., I studied psychology, history, just all the stuff that I missed. And then beyond that, I studied all the aspects that Hubbard was into: hypnotism, NLP, the occult, and how the trick was done. All subjects I was not introduced to in the schooling system or elsewhere. So, just by a process of finding out what is not true and what is true, I felt like I said, I'd be willing to accept whatever the truth is, particularly when I had to deal with I hate the word. It's such a loaded word, saying spiritual or God. So let me try to use a different word or think about this for a second while I light this cigarette. What really did it for me is because I got up to the confidential levels in Scientology. That's where you imagine that you have beings on you. And I told you guys I went crazy because I believed that. I could hear voices in my head, and I can almost hear other people's body thetans or beings that we're taught exist all around us and on the physical body of people. And that's the big secret in Scientology. We're demon possessed, and there's a whole galactic story of how that happened. We get rid of those and we return to native self. So that was the aspect which deals with the occult, which we dealt with on this series. That once I studied all the basic shit, I studied all how the trick was done and everything, there was still the spiritual, i.e., the occult aspect to deal with, because I was having nightmares and there was something I wasn't understanding about Scientology. It's getting into Hubbard's black magic shit and all the crap he was into that led me down the rabbit holes of more advanced psychology, the occult, which I think is really important to study. I don't think it's evil. I just think it can allow you to understand symbolism, how the subconscious works. And even though people like Crowley and Hubbard were assholes, I think that there is something to that. And by going down that rabbit hole, I would say I automatically, quote, became spiritual. In other words, my jury's always out. I don't know for sure what happens, but it just brought me back to square one, where I'm absolutely convinced there's more to the five senses. There's a hell of a lot more going on that we can't see. I mean, even according to mainstream science, we only see the visible light spectrum, which is like 0.002 of all the mass, matter, and energy that makes up reality. So we can't even decode or see anything anyways of what might be there. So that's just an example of like learning little scientific quips and information, some more advanced psychology, as well as the occult, that made me have experiences, which I'll explain in season 3, certain synchronicities, certain things that allowed me to get out of this trap, which I'm convinced, even though I don't understand it and know much about it, that there's a hell of a lot more going on, and that I could have some amount of faith, so to speak, not in Jesus, not in somebody else saving me, but if I do what I know to be right, even though this situation of getting out of Scientology seemed impossible and it was going to kill me, there was something about my intuition that told me if I do what I know to be right, no matter what the consequences are, if I actually follow this through, I will get the quote help that I need to work this out, even though I don't have a mind to work with. This is why it's so hard to explain about what it felt like to be so dissociated, because I literally didn't have a mind to work with. So I followed my intuition, which is what I should have been following all along. That's the closest I get to spirituality. But just doing that, when the odds seem stacked up against me, how am I going to get food today? Why is my acting career destroyed overnight? Why are my parents turned on me? I'm having all these flashbacks? Hard study, following my intuition, only putting back in my mind, i.e., that blank sheet of paper, what I believe in, and always doing what I feel is the right thing to do, even if it looks like it's not going to work out or I'm going to be doomed. And every time I would do that, there would be enough help to get to the next day and the next step. And that's what I did for a decade. And at the other end of that, because of the experiences that happened, and just because of filling my head with a smorgasbord of normal knowledge and knowledge we're not taught in school, I definitely believe there's a hell of a lot more to reality. But I don't understand it, and I don't need to. I mean, at least I know enough where I don't fear death, and it also set me free of the fear of just the shenanigans that are pumped at us, like in the media and the latest trauma we're supposed to be afraid of and all this shit. Like, I completely could see through that, just like I could see through the Scientology scam in a day. So the process of following my intuition, for example, I didn't take the fucking shot, man. I'm not telling people what to do, but I could see that was a scam. So I didn't go along with any of that. And it made living in LA like super hard. So I'm just saying, by following my intuition and taking a lot of heat and being called a conspiracy theorist and a nutter because I didn't believe the government propaganda, that's an example of like, you can always do the right thing, and you can survive it and get through it no matter the amount of pressure from your mates, no matter what challenges come up. And also you can lose fear and not be afraid. And rather, I mean, I would be totally laughing at all this shit, including Scientology, except for the fact that people believe in it and therefore it harms the shit out of them. So it's not funny on the implications of what's actually happening, but it is funny on the outside looking in when you can see through all this bullshit. And so basically, I lost fear. I do believe there's something beyond the five senses. And I've learned to completely trust my intuition as my spirituality or guiding force. I hope that answers your question. I think we already did that. Xenu Marlene. Amy, how you doing, my friend? Sending love and thanks for all you're doing. I found you through Bryce, Esoteric Atlanta. Awesome. Bryce is such a sweet person, man. And I just love what she's doing. We had a discussion the other day on topics we're not supposed to talk about YouTube, but I just love her free spirit and actually tackling these taboo subjects that and to meet a new friend. Hopefully we'll do another interview shortly. It is refreshing. Like, we have our own different ideas or whatever. I have different ideas with every guest and interview, just like it's impossible to agree with everybody on anything anyways. Just because I have HG Tutor on, the psychopath, does not mean I agree with everything he says. But at the same time, it's great to meet people, because they're hard to find, that will actually speak out about super important shit. Well, a lot of other people might be terrified to go there because they want to keep their YouTube monetization and they want to keep the clicks going and all that shit. I fucking love Bryce. Anyways, love it. How are you? Is ice cream cookies indica or sativa? It is a indica, I think like 70%. And since you said that, love it, let's consider that a Xenu and throw up the fucking, well, you can see the Marlene thing in the background. So shall we, my friends? It's time for another break. Cricket, can we get you on screen just to take a little there you go. Just to take a halfway break. Throw up that drink, young lady. Fucking air. Go for it, Cricket. Xenu has been spoken.
I got a Xenu and I got a snoring dog.
We got a super cutie in the house in the way of Elvira. I want to absolutely squeeze her. She is so fucking cute. It hurts. Cricket's in the backstage helping us out on Sundays to star all the questions and make my job a lot easier. And you are so fucking cute. Jesus Christ. Anyways, guys. Oh, look at that cutie pie. Oh my God. What a rough life. Anyways, guys, if you're just joining us, like I said, Cricket's been kind enough to help us. We'll pop in Elvira maybe every time we do a Xenu just to lighten the mood. And
if she's here.
Oh, awesome.
She goes away. She does what she wants.
Let us carry on with the questions, my friends. Cricket, be prepared to come on at any moment because we might need an Elvira rush at any second. Thanks again, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so to answer your question, I think it's about 70% indica. Love it. Do you smoke weed? And if so, what are your favorite strains? And or do you like indicas, which have a tendency to knock you out? Um, they're the heavier strain. They're more the body high. And sativas are for weak people that just want the little happy high. No, I'm just kidding. I've always been an indica fan. Um, Marilyn, what is going down? Thanks for making Marlene notorious, Doug. Thank you for bringing her up and for sharing your story and allowing us to add her in. My pleasure, Marilyn. It's good to see you in the house, man. And I will, we're going to be doing something soon with words and stuff. We have a lot to talk about, me and Marilyn. So, Marilyn, I'll be getting in touch with you very shortly and we can set up the next stream, which I'm really excited about because it kind of appertains to what we were talking about with the KSW stuff and why I'm really glad philosophy popped that off as the first question. Marilyn's really good at breaking down the mechanics of her cult. She wasn't an ex Scientologist. She's had a hell of a life story and was in a different cult where she's been breaking this stuff down. So I think we make a good team on breaking down the intricacies of the psychology, how the words work, etc., rather than just making jokes about cults or covering the news all the time. So I'm really looking forward to this kind of stuff, Marilyn. Can't wait to do our next stream soon. I'm going to fuck up pronouncing this. Bacon Cookie 420. How could I fuck up pronouncing that? My great moniker, man. What is your favorite weed strain? If I had to pick one, then your favorite of indica, sativa, or hybrid. Well, I don't do sativa too much, man. I really like this ice cream cookies. Skywalker was always a favorite. Uh, True OG I like, and a host of other ones. I mean, I really do go for like, I'm not sure this is totally correct because I hear you're not supposed to always go by the THC strain, but I always go for the highest one. So the way it works here is out here in LA, it's legal, it's delivered, and it's pretty cheap for, I buy an ounce at a time and they will drive up within an hour. So I place my order online and it tells you what the THC content is. And I just go through the strains. And there are particular ones that I'm looking out for and that I like. I know I just missed some of them, but always it's the THC content. So it's like 25%, 28%. I'm looking for 30 or higher because the higher the, you build up a tolerance. So the higher it is, the better it is. Anyways, hope that answered your question. Okay, what is your favorite? Okay, we just covered that, right? I got to stop. I have to learn how to unstar the questions. I'll get the hang of this soon, my friends. What's going on, Oz? Doug, could you find some? Is that supposed to be just for your gal hugs? What the fuck is that? So is that supposed to be some like some spider song, or I can't quite make out what that thing is, but is that some death metal, like some heavy ass music? Let's see. Or some grasshopper song? Could you find some grasshopper song just for your gal? Hugs and love. Grasshopper from Brisbane, Australia. Thanks, Oz. Love and hugs to you too. And if I knew what the hell you were talking about, I would play the aforementioned song or style of music. But Cricket, if you don't mind, keep an eye on Oz and let me know what you're asking there, Oz, because it would be cool to actually play some music and I'll pull up whatever you want. All right. Jim, how are you, my friend? Question, in your opinion, what is it that keeps public members in at all with their access to info about the cult? Do you think, oh, okay. Just want to interject here. Cricket in the backstage just says, laughing my ass off. So I think he meant a Cricket song. I'm so stoned and stupid and I'm blonde, guys. So forgive me. I should have caught that. Cricket's absolutely losing her shit in the backstage. What the fuck, Cricket? I mean, hey man, we hang out, we get high. I'm gonna have lapses here.
Crickets,
I'm stupid.
Grasshoppers, we're cousins.
So what does she mean? I should play one of your songs, Cricket, which you're an amazing singer. We played your shit before, or a song like yours. Like, how do I then translate what they actually meant?
I don't know. A song about crickets.
Okay.
I don't even know if there are any.
Okay. So I'm not as stupid
I got
as
nothing.
I thought. Okay, we'll check in with you again shortly. Thanks for the data, as they say in Scientology. Oz, get back to us and let us know, and then Cricket will keep an eye on your comment, and perhaps we can get in a Cricket jingle, whatever you might be referring to. So, Jim, sorry about that question. In your opinion, What is it that keeps public members in it all with their access to info about the cult? Do you think it's solely fear? Well, here's the thing, my man. I'll just give you my personal example because I'm not ever speaking for anybody, and it's just opinion. So it doesn't mean this is right for everybody. But I can answer that, why I didn't do that. So I was a public member my whole life. I wasn't in the Sea Org. I didn't sign the billion-year contract despite having to fight that off literally hundreds of times in intense sessions to join the Sea Org. I was on staff for 2 weeks, as we covered in the series, but then I bailed because I could barely take that. But what keeps you in, man, is the fact that you are programmed within an inch of your life with suppressive person policies, with high crime policies, with the KSW, the Keeping Scientology Working policy that you saw at the beginning. All sorts of policies and brainwashing that tells you if you fucking look at anything negative on the internet about Scientology, you're going to be in extreme ethics trouble. You're going to reactivate and fuck up your reactive mind. You might run into confidential information, i.e., the OT levels, which are spread all over the internet now, that will cause you to possibly die. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but like I said, the aforementioned policies and brainwashing, right at the beginning with Keeping Scientology Working, are setting the stage for why it's going to be not okay and the path of least resistance to never look at anything negative on Scientology. Like I said, it's expensive ethics handlings if you do. You believe that it's fucking up your mind. And I certainly didn't want to know what the hell was on OT3 before I actually did it. And I was never going to go on the computer, nor did I, to find that out. I never watched South Park while I was in Scientology. Not only was I not trying to keep myself out of it because of the ethics conditions, how expensive it is, and possibly fucking up my mind and dying if I hear OT3 before I'm ready, I knew that the information was a lie. I knew it was a joke. I didn't need to watch South Park. This is the thing. People think they're going to wake up a public Scientologist or a staff member by changing their reality in one shot. When you tell us that South Park, let me just use me as this example, because I did have friends try to tell me about South Park, the Xenu story. Is this what they believe in, Doug? I lied to my friends, by the way, when I did OT3. I talked about this before, so I won't ramble, but I did OT3, and then South Park came out shortly after that. So I did have my friends actually questioning me that knew I was a Scientologist. Is this true, what's on South Park? And I was a professional liar. I had to deny it, because if you talk about it, you're in deep shit with the cult. They say you get fined $100,000 if I work for every infraction. So if I were to tell my mates, yeah, that's true. Now, it's not enforceable, but again, I believe this and I sign contracts. So if I would have told my friend, the church could have threatened me for $100,000 if they found out on their little e-meter, and I would tell them too, that I did actually spill the secrets. So you're not going to tell anybody. You become a professional liar about this shit. And I knew that my friends were stupid. Not only did it not affect me when people would say, haven't you seen Leah's show? Well, I was actually out when Leah's show came out, but haven't you seen South Park? How can you fall for this shit? Why don't you just look at this book? Go on the internet and check out, this anti-Scientology page, Doug. This is what my mate was doing, who dropped off the book that got me out of the cult. But I was laughing at him up until I actually read the book. So not only did I not feel like, oh, there's something I should find out about, but I'm scared, I would just laugh at my mates going, bro, you don't know anything about auditing. You've never taken a course. You've never had these blowout wins. You've never gone deeply into the subconscious to see what's really going on in this world. You know nothing about Scientology. It's the greatest thing ever. Whatever the fuck you saw on South Park or whatever, I knew it to be true once I was out, but who cares? They're just trying to make fun of us. They're not up to the level of OT3 to be able to appreciate it. So they're just making fun of our cosmology. When for me, when I did OT3, I completely believed in it because I was super brainwashed, and it wasn't that different from the space opera bullshit you learn along the way anyways. So again, long story short, I wouldn't look at anything because there's no need to. It's all negative for real. And the people that are trying to get me to look at it have never done Scientology. They're talking out of their ass. It's the greatest thing ever if they would just fucking try it. So I would laugh at these people. And It was all I could do to try to not talk them into Scientology or defend myself. But I generally wouldn't do that because it would go over their head. But inside, I was thinking, you're a fucking idiot. If only you knew what Scientology was. That's the way it really is, my friend. At least for me, that's disturbing to actually remember that and say that out loud. But that's the answer to your question, because people would ask me often, and it just pushed me more into my belief system and more into the cult and more wanting to disseminate Scientology. So idiots like this that would question me on it would actually go down to the cult and check it out. Scary, right? Anyways, Jim, how are you, man? Question, in your opinion, what is it that keeps public members? Okay, again, I got to stop not unstarring these things. I think it's time for another Xenu, guys. Xenu, my friends. Peggy, how are you? Hi, Doug. I'm still patiently waiting for your hair reveal. Okay, we'll do that someday. But like I said, this thing prevents my head from getting smashed in. It's like a barrier because this shit would weigh on my head for a while. And then I guess I'll have to have a good hair day before we do that. But really, it's just out of convenience and shit. And like I said in the previous video, you know who I'm gonna look. Okay, I will. And you know who I'm gonna look like? And I feel like I'm gonna be accused of being like a new age cult leader. Have you guys seen Marilyn just did a video on it the other day? I'm gonna go off on a little tangent and a ramble here because you just sparked something here, Peggy, with the whole hair thing. Did you guys see Escaping Twin Flames universe? Have you seen either of those two documentaries that came out recently? You have, Cricket, right? Okay. Cricket's nodding her head in the background. And then you've got Teal Swan, and then you've got this other long blonde-haired guy that I'm drawing a blank on YouTube. In other words, there are a lot of cults springing up on social media and on YouTube. And I think that the documentary they did on Teal Swan about a year and a half ago, which is really good and exposed her, the documentaries they just did on the twin flames idea, which we've talked about with the psychopath HG Tudor. I'm going to bring that up in our next conversation, which was rescheduled to next week or something, by the way. And what I'm saying is the guy in the twin flames looks like Jesus and he grew the hair out. You know, Teal Swan, I don't find her attractive anymore because I find the personality disgusting and therefore the looks go off. But initially, I and probably other people, she's got a striking look. She's got this long, silky, beautiful hair. It's all about the hair. And she's got the penetrating blue eyes like the guy from the Twin Flames cult has. And then you've got this blonde-haired guy that's got like a couple million subscribers who kind of rips off like Scientology New Age-esque concepts and does videos every day about how to manifest, right? It's all about thought manifest. I also have a fear that if I start wearing my hair down regularly, I'm going to be accused of being one of these Jesus reincarnate long blonde-haired freaks because they all look the same, man. I'm also thinking of Jared Leto too. He's in a band called Life on Mars. He was in, I remember him from the movie Requiem from a Dream. He was in, you guys can list off the movies that Jared Leto was in. He was in My So-Called Life, that television series. He's a famous actor / musician that also has the long blonde hair. And it's just such a corny trend. I think I'll start actually hiding it even more, actually, now that you bring that up. But that's funny, Peggy. Yes, I will do that at some point. John, how are you? It's been a while since I've seen you. Perhaps because it was the 70s, but I had migraines from spouse beatings and received 12 hours of auditing, and they were gone and never returned. Please explain that. Damn, man, that's a great question, Don, and I feel like I'm going to be pro Scientology here, but I just wanted to say I feel that there's a snag and a trick in all of them. I think that Dianetics, as we've proven with Cricket, with Joni, we did a video on Dianetics proving and showing, and it's not hard to do, that Dianetics is hypnotism as well as all the auditing and the choruses. But within that, you can have things happen. I would say placebo effect, or I would say maybe if you just tried it once, Don, something will happen. And you're not going to fall into the trap where you lose your family, you start believing in Xenu, and you have a million false memories implanted in you. But I do think things can happen, and people will attest to it. And it happened to me in Dianetics, where you can get rid of a migraine. My dad, as to give you an example of something that works, but it still doesn't mean it's some magical technology that Hubbard and Scientology came up with, is to do a touch assist. It was a kind of pedophilic thing where I would be injured. Let's say I hurt my leg. My dad would sit me down in a chair And he would say, feel my finger. And then he would touch my body. And I would have to say, yes. He'd say, thank you. Feel my finger. Okay, Dad. Thank you. Because remember, I'm like, what's going on here? Before I got used to Scientology myself. Feel my finger. Okay, Dad, why are you touching me? What's going on here? Do you feel my finger? Yeah. Okay. I'll repeat, or he says, I'll repeat the auditing command. In other words, it's this very mindfuckery standard pedophilic thing where I think all my dad's doing is taking attention off of my hurt knee so that it starts to feel better, seemingly quicker than could have happened if I had just carried on with the hurt knee. So is that magic tech, or is that distraction tech, or is that anything special and unique to Scientology, like he claims every single piece of tech is, like I just described? The touch assist has never been invented before. It's this new discovery in Scientology, just like everything. So if you get something out of a fucking Dianetic auditing session and your migraine goes away, or if if my dad touches me like a pedophilic father and I take my attention off of my hurt knee, I do think things can happen. One of the biggest things, Don, though, is that Scientology really is covert hypnotism called something else, because that's what Hubbard's doing from Dianetics on. And he's putting you into a light trance. Sometimes it can be a really deep trance. I would fall asleep sometimes in my sessions because I would go totally under, and I would wake up 20 minutes later sometimes, or however long, and my auditor would still be sitting there staring at me. Mind you, while the hours are ticking off, because you pay by the hour. So I just wasted 20 minutes by falling asleep in the trance. But a lot of amazing things can happen in a trance state. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, that's what I was accessing when I go into acting mode. Or let's say you ever been in the flow mode, you're listening to music, you're throwing the weights around. It's just people would claim that you can be more in a flow state, access more information in those disassociated or trance states. So there's nothing wrong with hypnosis, and tons of shit happens in Scientology auditing. That's amazing, but it's all done under the guise of the environment where you're simultaneously taking in the suggestions to pay for more courses. You're taking the suggestions. Mind you, you're like 100 times more suggestible when you're in a light trance state. So when you go from an auditing session to listening to Hubbard's lectures and reading books, or going to see the registrar to sign up for your next course, you're in an extremely suggestible state where you're taking in all sorts of other information and ideas that you're going to carry with you outside of Scientology. That doesn't happen if you're sitting alone, going into a light trance state / meditating on the couch by yourself. I don't personally do any of that shit. If people do, more power to them. I would say there's nothing wrong with hypnosis or dissociative states. In fact, amazing things can happen there. This is what people that take drugs or ayahuasca or something will say is happening too. So I'm just saying, and maybe that helps answer it, Don, like all sorts of amazing things can happen in that. And if you get some accidental wins in Scientology that aren't related to, buying more courses and all these other suggestions, then things can happen in that state of mind. But just to finish that off, I believe that that the only problem with Scientology about when it comes to this is, and why it's so dangerous, is because you're literally being put into a trance, which you can remain in for a lifetime, like my dad did, without your consent. That's totally illegal, completely evil. And if you don't know about the mind, about how powerful that actually is, and the revelations and healings that you can have, like Don's talking about here, and you don't know the totality of the environment that you're in and what the hell's going on, you can completely lose yourself. And then getting back is a hard thing to do. But if you do have informed consent, if you do get into the subconscious, whether you want to take drugs, meditate, or listen to some good music, that's what helped me to get the fuck out of Scientology. So I believe in those states. That's as close as I can get to spirituality. It's just the subconscious, for lack of a better way of putting it. But the only danger is that you don't have consent, and it's the environment that it's all happening within. It's not under your own control, in other words. That's why you don't need, in my opinion, any cult gurus or anything but yourself. You're given all the biology, brain power, and intuition that you need, where you don't have to seek anybody outside of yourself. It's kind of like, what did they say? Is it in the Bible, the kingdom of heaven is within, or spread out all over the world? I don't do religion, but those trite phrases or whatever, they actually do mean a lot to me nowadays. when they didn't mean shit growing up? That's a great question, Don. And like one caveat, Don, that's just totally my opinion. Like I'm not an expert on anything. I'm just sharing my opinions. These could be totally wrong. I could just be talking out of my ass. So I don't know the real explanation about why that happened to you. That's just my opinion and guess, by the way. GQ, if there is a Scientologist born after LRH dies, claims to be LRH reincarnated, will they be believed or not? Why or why not? Well, GQ, we have to look no farther than Justin Craig, LRH 2.0. How many of you guys know who that is? And Cricket, if you happen to hear any comments about people want to talk about Justin Craig, feel free to throw up the comments while I answer GQ's question. Okay, cool. The answer is yes, because there has been an LRH 2.0 who's now serving time in prison, I think, for like the second or third time. He was probably in his late 30s or early 40s, and his name was Justin Craig, and he sold the indie Scientologists. These are the people that don't believe in the cult because they think David Miscavige fucked it up, so they can't go to the church, or they got booted out, and they practice the tech outside of the cult. These are the ones that were the most likely to believe in LRH 2.0, and he did come back, and the indie Scientologists in particular bought into this shit. Not all of them, but he had a decent following. I think even though he's in prison, there's still some indie Scientologists that believe Justin Craig is the second coming of L. Ron Hubbard. And, it's just proof that it doesn't matter what the belief system is. I think it's the psychological mechanisms that are going on behind that can make a person believe in anything, whether it's Xenu, LRH 2.0, and a host of other crazy shit that we believe in, right? But why would someone want to, again, it's just so obvious that that's not LRH 2.0. Some people have speculated that Donald Trump is L. Ron Hubbard. I don't know if the dates line up. It is funny how he looks like him. He's got the same fucked up lips and shit. And he's a cult leader in himself, although I don't do politics either. I think the left and the right are controlled, and it's all a scam. But I'm just saying, like, I don't think LRH, is here. He's on target 2, as we all know, and or burning in hell. But if it was somebody, it's certainly not Justin Craig, and I would put my money on Donald Trump. What do you guys say? So there you go. Okay, Justin, you got to be shitting me, Mark. You're trolling me. Justin Craig is the real deal. He's LRH. That's why they had to frame him for crimes, of course. Okay, I know you're just joking. That's a good fucking joke, too. Exactly, man. I mean, clearly he's LRH 2.0, and he's in prison because just like Hubbard was a conspiracy theorist and everybody was after him and they couldn't capture him, they captured Craig, but when he's out, he's going to carry on with the tech. I know, brother. I know, man. That's very funny. I appreciate your sense of humor, man. Okay. How we doing on time? 1 hour. This shit goes by so fast. How are you guys doing? You want to hang out a little longer, or are you bored? Let us know. I completely lose track of time because it's just so cool that the questions you guys ask and to actually think and heal about all this shit that I haven't thought about for years. I know I'm going to fuck this name up again. Sinonin L. So let me try to get this. Sionin and Roos. Or I can't get the last part. I'm really sorry, man. Cool moniker, though. What the hell are you rambling about, Cricket? We got to bring in Cricket because she's losing her mind behind. Please. What are you laughing about?
Just read the comment, bro. It'll help you.
Too many Xenus, guys. I'm going to have to lay out the Xenus. Fair enough, Cricket. Okay. Most people just say CO as a nickname. Okay. That's why you said read the comment. I think we're going to have to axe the party aspect of this, at least on my end, guys, because clearly I am dumb as doornails, and we're not going to be able to get through any of this. What brand of cigs? Seneca, my friend, and they're the cheapest ones. I buy these. It's not all cigarettes. Well, they don't all taste the same. They're all different, but I'm not picky about anything, about food, cigarettes, or anything. It's the product that I care about. So I, especially having to live very frugally, I got used to saying when I wanted cigarettes, and I still do today, what's the least expensive brand that you have in hundreds? So my requirement is that they're hundreds, i.e. the longer cigarettes, because you can get more. Why would you buy one that's not as long when you can smoke like twice as much on 100? when a normal cigarette is almost half that. So Seneca, because of its price, I smoke their red 100s. Strongest, longest, and cheapest. Something didn't sound right about that. Good question, though. What do you smoke, man, if you smoke at all? Peggy, after the hair reveal, I'd like to see. Wait, you want me to take my clothes off next? I'd like to hear more about the behind the scenes flux and SPTV. We were going to bring on somebody tonight. I'm not going to spill rumors. I think I have a handle on what's going on, but that's not any of my business to talk about. I think you're referring to, Aaron Smith Levin will probably, pop back on YouTube and make a statement. I don't want to talk about what's going on behind the scenes because it's not my business. And then the gal we were going to have on tonight can actually probably talk respectfully about it and sensibly about it if she wants to. But let's just wait and see, guys. Like, there's some stuff going on, and we'll just have to let them handle it and see how it develops. I personally, like I said, this is where I'm glad I'm always on the outskirts of the SPTV community because I have no loyalty to any of these people in the way of there's dynamics where, if I'm just going to say it the way that it is. So a lot of the cult members that are popular are ex-Sea Org. That's a particular brand of person that really only tells about 5% of the story because those are the people that deliver Scientology. They were the biggest assholes in the cult because they were the most power hungry, generally speaking. And they have a unique trauma bond like in the military because they work so long and so hard together. And as you saw with KSW, that purpose is all encompassing and super intense. Just to give you an idea of the bonding that people like the Renders and the Headleys and stuff would have by sharing that mutual experience. Since I was a public member, I didn't kind of have that. I was more free-flowing, mind you, just as indoctrinated. And I actually did the fucking bridge, which isn't really talked about. Like, what the fuck actually do you do in Scientology? And that's covered by the administrators mostly on the channels and where they're from. So because of that, what I meant by I don't have any loyalty is my loyalty really is to the truth. And I already got the skeletons out of my closet. So I don't have to bend to what Karen De La Carriere says, who pays off people behind the scenes. If you want more publicity, if you want to get your shit in the Daily Mail, I don't know the Headleys, man. I didn't have their shared trauma. I don't have to protect Aaron. We've had our beef and I also like the guy and thinks he does a lot. I don't have to do what apostate Alex says, who tried to manipulate me and shit. Like, I am not influenced by any of that shit. So when blowups like this happen, and I think that this needs to come to a head because there's a lot of skirting around the issues, blocking of comments, dodging things that are finally coming to a head. So I hope I'm not being cryptic, but there needs to be a change and some of the bullshit removed from this community and clout chasing, and because the message is getting lost and it's becoming about like a circus show, like an entertainment thing, which is fucking fine on one level, man. But it's gotten to the point where there's too many lies and bullshit happening behind the scenes so they can work it out. I'm just going to watch from afar. It's none of my fucking business. And thank God I don't have to do or play in any of these separate cliques and groups because this is what can cause friction and sneaky and keeping things secret and stuff. So let them fucking deal with it and they'll have to. And I think it'll be pretty intense, man. So we'll wait and see. And like I said, if this person wants to come on later tonight or maybe next week to comment on it, they can. They know what they're talking about. I don't want to spread rumors. I'm just, it's just going to be, it's a long time in coming. And we'll see what plays out. Bo Beats, question. Why is everyone ignoring the full out disturbing Mark Fishy with little girls pics? That's been out forever, Bo Beats. That's the kind of shit. And that's why I really wanted to bring this person on tonight, man. There's a whole history, Bo, about the controlled opposition, about people like Mark Fisher, Karen De La Carriere, Jeffrey Augustine, to name a few. We've been talking about this for years on a Facebook group called Scientology Deprogramming, which was the late Arnie Lerma's Facebook group. So there's certain people in this community that know who the players are, that know who to avoid, that know that just because somebody came out of Scientology, they're not suddenly given a free pass or a saint or a good person. They can carry those manipulations. And man, we were trained within an inch of our lives to be professional liars and manipulators, especially in the Sea Org. So those can be carried over if you don't, in my opinion, go through quite a deprogramming and, decompression process and get your fucking heart and humanity back. So, God damn it, Cricket, I lost the question. And remember, I'm quite high right now. So I'm gonna start riffing, and then I need to look at it, and then I'm gonna lose it. But are you able to pull up what we were just riffing on? Because I really wanted to make that point. I'll stand by. Okay, so we're basically talking about the controlled opposition. I think I got it, Cricket, but I need help because I'm not. Okay, she says stand by. So just give me one second, guys. Actually, this will be a good time to calm down because you guys got me really fired up tonight. This is good shit. We need to talk about this. But let me throw on some music here because we haven't done that in a while. While Cricket's finding it, and we can chill out and relax. And let's do another scene here too, if you guys don't mind. Thanks, Cricket. You're fucking awesome. Let's take a break while we join the chill hop tunes, shall we? If you're just joining us, we do a weekly Q&A every Sunday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And feel free to ask any questions that you like. Cricket, I can see you're dancing in the background. Hell yeah, right? Let me just throw this up. If you have any questions, please throw up the question marks. We're not monetized. We don't do the super chat, slot machine, fucking Vegas bullshit here. So just put the question marks before so Cricket can pull them out. And then we're going to show you a super cute picture of the dog that Cricket's hanging with. He's going to be a regular feature. And then anytime you put Xenu/Marlene, which is Maryland's cult leader's name, in your question that gets flashed up, we all take a hit of our favorite poison. So let's do so. If you don't cough, you don't get off. Oh my God. I knew that was going to be a big one. If you don't cough, you don't get off. Bo, you're coming in hard tonight, man, because this is a sore area. It's been a long time trying to bring to a head. Because our favorite SPTV creators, if you dare challenge them or bring forth evidence about Mark Fisher and other people, they are not to be questioned. And the whole cult of followers jump on you like, these people would never do anything wrong. How dare you, talk out about, certain ex-Scientologists. That information is on Scientology's own website. Bo, a long story short, we've known about this forever. And that's why when I get this gal on, I think we're going to go into some of the history. Let me turn the music down. We're going to go into some of the history of who the players are, man, and how long this has been going on. And information about Mark Fisher, as well as Karen and Jeffrey and everything else. It's not new. And it's even on, like I said, Scientology's own website. But since we have so many newbies that have popped off in this community, not least because Aaron Smith Levin brought him, good for him, brought a bunch of more people speaking. We have newbies like Apostate Alex and shit, and a whole bunch of other people that have no clue like what the history is. So they just believe everybody, and Karen swoops them up, and pays them off and shit. So hopefully we can inform the community about how long this has been going on, and that there are people like Mark Fisher in this community where you can find information on Scientology's own website, which will, even though remember guys, Scientology keeps files on all of us. So before I spoke out, for example, I had to make damn sure that I have my skeletons in the closet handled, and then I'm unprosecutable and I'm safe, because they make you do shit in the cult that could possibly be criminal. And if you've done criminal shit or anything wrong at all, they keep fucking files on you, and they use that e-meter and security checks, especially when you get onto the confidential levels like I did, to fucking tell them everything. They want crimes. They almost want you to make them up so they can fuck you when you leave. So just because, when I've used Scientology websites before too as evidence, just because it's a Scientology website and they have all sorts of hyperbolic attacks and snaky little comments about Mark Fisher and Karen and other people, the basic information that they put in there is true, because they have folders on these fuckers. They know them. They know everything they've done from within an inch of their life. And this information, if people cared to look about Mark Fisher and what Bo has been talking about, has been up there for a fucking decade, man, on Scientology's own website. We'll be going much more into that. And I do appreciate you bringing it up, bro, because it kind of appertains to what's probably going to happen with the community, whatever happens, finally coming to a head where a lot more truth needs to come out. The clout chasing bullshit needs to be swept aside so we can get back to business, which is what we were doing when the Arnie Lermas and the old time people were around. And it's a very different environment and kind of fake and phony than what we were dealing with in the past. So maybe we can get back to that. And that's a big part of it, by people not even being up to speed and having people like Mark Fisher and shit and Karen De La Carriere and bullshit artist Jeffrey Augustine on their show, having no idea what they're stepping into and the background of these fucking people. Love it. I rarely partake. Okay, this is in reference to, do you smoke weed or do you not? Do you smoke, bro? Huh? I rarely partake. I used to a lot. But I do like the Love Potion number 7. Sublingual. Love it. I'm high as fuck. And you want me to repeat all this stuff? Potion number 7, sublingual THC drops. Okay, I don't even know what that is, bro. You roll hard because I've never heard that before. I do smoke hand-rolled ciggies. Awesome. If I do smoke the herb, it's a solif. It's in a solif. I'm going to have to look that word up. I don't know what solif means. Awesome, man. Don, did I already answer this or not? Doug, so you know, the auditing helped my migraines. In 1982, a friend of mine stole OT 1 to 3 from AOLA, and we passed them out to everyone we could. Don, stand by one quick second. Don just threw me a message in the backstage. Okay, MU, sublingual equals under the tongue. Thank you. Wouldn't that have been a hell of a lot easier to say? What a fancy word for just saying I put the drops under my tongue. Good to know. Thank you, man. You learn something new every night. Don, I still didn't quite get this. So, Doug, so you know, the auditing helped my migraines. Okay. In 1982, a friend of mine stole OT 1 to 3 from AOLA and we passed them out. Okay, so those are two separate statements. That's fucking awesome, by the way. 1982, a friend of mine stole OT 1 to 3 from AOLA and we passed them out to everyone we could. Don, how is that even possible, man? I mean, I just tell me more. Like, there was a raid where I think, well, Arnie Lerma was responsible in part for putting up the OT levels. He's one of the old school guys that had his house raided. And this is when it was really cloak and dagger to say, you know, to speak out about Scientology, not like this love, you know, fest of, you know, where it's just kind of stupid nowadays. But there was a raid, I think from St. Hill or somewhere, where somebody finally got the OT levels, you know, got them out of the org. And then that's how they got leaked to the internet, which I believe Arnie was part of putting up there. And I never heard of anybody. I mean, so are you talking about the very specific people that did this hijack that you know about? And also, I've never heard of somebody snaking it from AOLA. And if they did walk in to get it, leave in the comments afterwards how the hell they do it, because that would be really difficult to do. Because, Don, they had security levels where you couldn't even access them unless you were on the course. Like, I had to go through, you know, certain doors that they had to slide the security for. You have to have the material strapped on you the whole time. There's kind of no way to actually go into AO, even if you're on the OT levels, and steal them, unless the only way I would have been able to do that is when I had OT3 on me and I decided to go hide in Zimbabwe, leave the country so they wouldn't come looking for me, and then run off. So I would just love to know how that's possible. But I do know people have actually done it in the past. Guys, in Cricket, please let me know if you don't mind. Is the music driving you nuts? Is it too loud? Could you put a no? Cricket says no, but sometimes it drives people nuts, and I don't want to inconvenience people. So I'm going to change the music over right now. And then if you guys don't mind, please put a 1 in the chat if it's okay and you don't mind it. A 2 if it's bothersome and you want it to go away. We're switching over. And here's the options we have, my friends. We have chill, down tempo, lounge, hip hop, lofi, chill hop, ambient, future hop. If it's not a problem and you want to hear it, let me know what kind you'd like to hear. So music's great vibe. See, it's split between 2s and 1s. This is why it's worth checking. More 1s. Okay. Got to see a few more if you guys don't mind. How about on the 2s, if I turn it down a little bit, maybe? Okay. It looks like basically 1. Let's just go a little bit longer, my friends, on the music, and then I'll turn it off. But I don't want to spend forever on that, and I'm already making it more of a big deal than it is. But thanks for the feedback. Okay, so that's it on Dawn. Make sure I unstar it. Thank you for that question, Dawn. HG Cupcakes. That's funny. I'm an Aussie, and I would love to see you talk with HG again. You two are my favorite combo. Thanks, man. And did you just change it to HG right before we went live or whatever? Was that in honor of the psychopath himself, or to have a cool moniker during the stream? I appreciate you doing that, man. That's awesome. We were scheduled to do an interview on the 17th, but he was under the weather, and we rescheduled for, I think, the 27th. So that's like 8 days from now. And if you guys have any specific questions you want to ask him, I'm going to pool the questions that have come up in my mind and that people have left in the comment section. That's going to be the theme of the next interview that we do. So if you have any questions that you want me to add to that, what you'd like to hear from him, let me know in the comments afterwards, and I'll ask him on the 27th. That music is so chill, at least through the headphones. I hope it's not driving you guys nuts. John, how are you, man? Doug, I noticed you like death metal. Yeah. Have you listened to, I can't pronounce it, but I do know that band, Brujeria? They are a Mexican death metal band. Yeah, and they're awesome. We're actually, fuck it, let's play some of that, John. That's a perfect segue to get a hold of some of the comments and then listen to some fucking death metal while we're here. They're actually a black metal band, though, aren't they? A Mexican death metal band, and they are hilarious. They used to rag on Pete Wilson also. Let me check these guys out. Okay, so trigger warning, death metal and black metal are very acquired tastes. Almost nobody likes it. So tune out for the next, let's just do about a minute, because we're going to play some of this Brujeria, Brujeria. Brujeria. We're going to play about a minute of it, and then we'll get back to the comments or whatever. Wow, 3.3 million views? What the fuck? Okay. Is this a comedy black metal band, my friend? Or I can't wait to actually see this. So let me turn off the music so we can watch this. Okay, I know I'm mispronouncing this. Is Brujeria. Thank you, Balak. I can't pronounce that because I see the 420 though. Balking. It's just too small, Cookie. I can't see the actual people. It's too small. But what's up, 420? Just want to say that finding your channel, especially your interviews with HG Tutor, it literally changed and saved my life. That's fucking awesome to hear, man. Gotten quite a few emails about how it doesn't matter if people don't like HG, or you can get your narcissism information from elsewhere, whatever. But that subject itself, man, I got to tell you, I've gotten a ton of feedback, more than any other, about how understanding what a narcissist is, and somebody recognizing that even their best mate, or why they're having problems with their marital partner, etc., or their parents, like I did. That subject has helped out so many people, and it's just, I love it when I hear when you say things like this, my man, because it literally does change and saves lives. I couldn't thank you and HG enough. That's fucking awesome, and makes me want to talk to him even more, man, because that's how his information and the information on psychopathy in general helped me, and it's such a key subject when talking about all this shit. Anyways, Cricket, can you pull that thing off, the comment, and we'll bust some black metal out here? Just wanted to show you guys here real quick. I don't know what the hell we're about to watch. It's on Roadrunner Records. This is the record label that everyone from Sepultura to Morbid Angel and all these incredible death metal bands are on. This is the main, or at least it was, the main record label for all these bitchin' bands. And they have 3.3 million views on this video. So it looks like death metal is not as unpopular as I thought it was.
¿Cuánto quiere ese coyote?
10,000 pesos.
¿Para todos?
No, jefe, para cada uno.
Pinche coyote ladrón. Hay que joder al güey.
Okay, I already think this is comedy, man. Maybe that's why it has the 3.3 million views. But let us watch. This is already bitching.
Coyotes rateros te chingan la feria. Siguen al brujo, te llevo pa' gratis. Trae tu abuela, tu tía, el heno. Pinches polleros se viven pa' feria. Te cobran tu sueldo y pagan tu abuela. Pinche inmigrante está esperando. Te devuelven después de una paliza. La amiga y tu abuela le
Holy shit, that's awesome, man. I don't know if that's comedy or some really important political messages and stuff being spewed out to the background of that fucking awesome black metal shit. Thanks for turning me on to that, man. I have heard of them, and definitely will be listening to more of that. Okay, so let's get that off here. We'll go back to the questions. Thanks for that break. You guys want to take a Xenu or Marley? It's been a while. Cricket, do you see any of those that you could throw up or anything? Oh, you threw it into the bin? Okay. Let me see here. Stand by. If you're just joining us, every time we see the word Xenu or, okay, Doug, you look like an Alice in Chains kind of guy. Toke, thank you, Purple Groovy. That will suffice. We take a hit of our favorite poison. I swear this time goes by so fast. We've been going for an hour and a half. We're not going to be able to get to everybody's questions even slightly. But how about we do 30 more minutes and then I'll just, rather than ramble and riff off of the questions, I'll just try to give a 2-minute thing so we can blaze through and get through as many of these we can. Does that sound good? In the meantime, take a hit of your favorite poison, my friends. And let's put on some music. Hell yeah. We'll run the music for the next 30 minutes. What do you guys want to hear, man? Please put it in the comments. Chill, down-tempo, lounge, hip-hop, lo-fi, chill hop, ambient, future pop. I'll start playing chill, and then we'll just take up the most popular one as we take a quick break here before we head into the final 30 minutes. We have one for chill. Not too many voters in the house. Xenu Pop, we don't have that. Unfortunately, we can't put death metal or anything in the background. You can only go with the presets on this streaming software. I was hoping they would update it so we could put in some, good music. I don't know what lo-fi is, Paula. It's, I don't know what it is, but I know the style that it is. You want to hear it real quick? Here. Here's lo-fi. That chill was pretty good. Okay, we're going to go with chill, but here's lo-fi, Paula. That's probably not the best example for it because it is actually a really cool style of music, I think. But since that's not quite the right jam, let's go back to chill and fire off. We'll do a rapid fire on these questions. Okay. Hell yeah. You guys hear that? I might have already done this one. John, what's going down again? Doug, I noticed you. Okay, we got that one. Again, I have got to learn to unstar these. Same thing that I did with Purple Groovy. Thanks, Purple, for giving us the perfect segue into that final bong hit or weed hit. GQ, does the Aftermath Foundation also help public Scientologists who lose everything when leaving the cult, or do they only help Sea Org members? Now, I don't know today. I assume that, and I think it's part of their advertisement, that they help everybody, public and non-Sea Org, or public and Sea Org alike. But if I remember correctly, when I was in my car and when the Aftermath first came out, I thought my understanding was that they were only helping out Sea Org members. Again, I think that that's changed, and I could have that wrong. But I do know several people. I never reached out to them because I wasn't going to do a GoFundMe or Aftermath help or whatever. I really just didn't want to do any of that shit. But I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I don't know. I don't want to ask people. I could not ask people for help, let alone like money or a GoFundMe. So I didn't ask for help. But many public members that I contacted since I kind of started to get my mind back around 2018, 2019. They were public members, and they said that they were not getting any help from the Aftermath, that you had to be a Sea Org member. But don't quote me on that. That's just my understanding, and I'm sure that they help out everybody nowadays. Now, I personally have taken off the Aftermath. I'm promoting it on my channel. Let's just see what develops or whatever, but again, I don't want to spread rumors, but I have questions about the Aftermath. It would be nice to see more wins, coming forward. And there's a story behind Serge Oblensky, which I'm sure will come to light. Let's just say if I was running the foundation, I would, and I understand people aren't going to want to talk out and be on camera and everything when they're, getting help. They could get out. But for years, I've been wondering, with all the people that you help and all the money that's sitting there, give us some fucking stories. Give us some more transparency. Let us see more of these people that you help, because we only get like one or two in all these years. So I think there's more to say about the Aftermath Foundation. As you guys know, Aaron was removed. There's more to say about that, which I'm sure they can handle amongst themselves. And maybe I'll jump in if they get it wrong or they try to bullshit people, because I do know what's going on, man. But I don't feel like it's my business. I want to see how they handle it. And then also, I personally need more information before I would put Aftermath Foundation. Do what you want, man. But I took them off of my description box of my YouTube channel long ago. I just need more info. So, Nancy, question. While you were in Scientology, were the majority of your friends Scientologists or us regular folk? Good question. I had plenty of regular folks in and around like acting in my acting class, because obviously I have to socialize with other people. But I really was two people when I was interacting with the real world. And most of my, if not all of my close friends, the people I really could open up to, they were all Scientologists. And that would include my family. After a while, I wanted to be more and more around Scientologists and less around the outside world. Because it's your program that the outside world is so fucked up that you remove yourself more and more from it. If my example is anything to go by. And then I got more and more brainwashed and addicted to the tech, and only learning how to speak within a language that other Scientologists would understand, and getting up to a higher case level where I'm getting more and more out reality with the public in general, where you just want to be around Scientologists more and more and more, and you get away from, don't associate as much with, or disconnect from regular folks more and more in the real world. But I interacted with everybody, but when I was in this real world or at the acting class or on set, I was in a totally separate, I had two people in me, Doug the Scientologist and the fake persona that I would have to put on around people. But what I was thinking, how I was judging people 24/7, how I was seeing and perceiving the world was totally as a Scientologist while interacting with normal people. A quick example of that, and why I apologize to a lot of my friends when I got out, is because they didn't see how much I was judging them. They didn't realize how close they were to being disconnected out of my life if they dare say one more word about Scientology. They didn't realize how not good of a friend I was and how much the judgment was going on. So when I came out and apologized, they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I just needed to say to them, "Look, I was not really a good friend to you despite appearances. You were almost booted out of my life, and I had kind of the judgments. It would scare the shit out of you if I told you what they were. So just wanted to let you know, I love you, man. I'm sorry. I'm going through a change, and I'm sorry for being a bad friend." And again, most of them would say, "What the hell are you talking about, Doug?" But I was a different kind of sociopathic mentality type person, even in the real world, with the Scientology program in my brain, just to drive that point home. I said I was going to try to move through these fast, but I'm doing a bad job. So Cindy, how are you? When I was losing my religion, it's a great song, by the way, I remember my hand shaking just buying some books in B&N, Barnes & Noble. And it was not SOC, just garden variety Christianity. Okay, fair enough, man. Again, I'm going to try to just blaze through these otherwise, because I'm so fucking stoned right now. Oz again, Doug and Cricket. Okay, back to the Cricket question. The mystery that you created earlier in the stream. I meant like chirp, chirp. But if Miss Cricket has her own, hit me with it. Again, Oz, either I'm still just too stoned or whatever. I'm still not decoding quite what you're asking. Do you want a chirp, chirp song? Do you want me to chirp, chirp? Cricket, any data there in the backstage? Cricket's lost too. I'm just being silly, man. I get what you're saying, Oz, and thanks for lightening up the mood, man. Chirp, chirp, my friend. Let me unstar this. Next question. Let's take a Xenu, my friends. I don't have time to throw up all the backgrounds and shit. Let's just pretend someone said Xenu. Belladonna, I haven't seen you for a while, man. How are you? Doug, I have a question. Did you ever reconnect with that friend who gave you that SH book about mind control? I have books by Hassan. I can give me a couple minutes on this one, because you asked a good question, Bella, and I wanted to riff off two things that you said here real quick. Stand by. Almost time to reload. He wasn't a friend. He was a frenemy. We've talked about him before. His name was Jamie, and he was a member of my acting class. We're talking about the person who dropped off Steve Hassan's Combating Cult Mind Control on my doorstep. This is a frenemy from my acting class that knew I was in a cult and was bugging me about it and questioning me about it for months, which we talked about earlier. And he's the one that got me out of the cult, while also being a narcissist himself. Now, I know that sounds bad. He had me, for years and years and years. I felt indebted to this guy, even though I knew he wasn't a good person, basically, for saving my life and doing that. I don't believe he did it out of caring. I believe he did it partly to get back at me and to antagonize me and make me wrong for being a Scientologist. But I've told him a million times, I don't care. I've said thank you so many times where he finally had to say, stop talking about it. I get it. You're welcome. Stop bringing it up. I think he was pissed that it actually worked and I got out of the cult because I'm not sure that was his intention. So that's it on that. We talked about him before. And like I said, sometimes people can come and help you out in your life that aren't necessarily angels of light. They can be from the quote dark side, but they can also be part of your journey out. So Jamie, I had to boot out of my life because he almost sabotaged the YouTube channel multiple times when we were first starting. And he's a complete pain in the ass manipulator or whatever. But he did save my life in the way of dropping out that book. I'll be forever grateful, but grateful at a distance. And then the second part of that I wanted to say, if you don't mind, Bella, that you were reminding me of, is I have books by Steve Hassan. This has come up a couple of times, so I just wanted to say something real quick. Like I said, to each their own beliefs, but I wanted to talk to my hero, Steve Hassan. And I had an interview scheduled with him a couple years ago, or right when I was kind of starting out the channel. And because he was pimping the vaccine and all this shit, and I tried to have a talk with him about it. In other words, there's another character named Rick Allen Ross. And you know how we're talking about control? This is just my opinion, but I believe that this is the way it works, spending, years in this goddamn community. So you have a controlled opposition, a narrative where it's here and no further. This is the official narrative. And if you deviate outside of it, you're a nutter, you're wrong, or whatever, right? So that I imagine exists in every community, even in the ex-cult community, not just the ex-Scientology community in this example. So while we've talked about the controlled opposition on the channel, and a big part of that is Karen De La Carriere and her lapdog, Jeffrey Augustine, but there's more players. I imagine that's in the JW community, the ex-Mormon community. They all have their official narrative of here and no further. So that also exists in the cult helper community. Steve Hassan's book saved my life, yet he couldn't apply the same bite model to what happened over the last 3 years. So when I questioned him on that, and I said, Steve, I'm not going to be able to have you on the channel now, because he agreed to an interview, man. And we had the date scheduled and I had all these questions laid out that I wanted to talk to him about. And I said, but I can't talk to you about this on YouTube because I'm going to be censored and booted off. Is that not a red flag for you, Steve? Why are you pushing this agenda? And he not only didn't consider what I was saying, and so pimping for this, but he was trying to handle me. Well, Doug, let's talk about it. Tell me I'm like, Steve, dude, you're not applying your own shit. You as a cult expert should recognize what's going on, no matter what your beliefs are on this whole virus thing. Since we can't talk about it, I'm going to have to cancel the interview because YouTube's going to boot our asses off, but I'm very disappointed. So in other words, and Rick Allen Ross puts out a ton of good information too. But it doesn't mean that they have the full information or that they apply it to other areas of their life. Chris Shelton, who calls himself the critical thinker at large, puts out a lot of good info. I personally find him boring as fuck. But, he was another person that when you get out of the cult, you should at least recognize another cult and not virtue signal about shit that you're sounding like an idiot on. Anyways, enough ramble about that, Bella. But that's I just wanted to say that because people have asked a lot. Why don't you interview Steve Hassan, the dude that saved your life? Well, I was, but I learned long ago. Just because somebody saved you with a particular piece of info, discernment. So I still get a lot out of Steve's books. I promote. He doesn't pay me. He doesn't know me. He probably hates me and shit because of our last conversation. But I always use the bite model and show his book, Combating Cult Mind Control, and hold it up and shit. Because it's about, you get some information here and some information there. There's no one guru that has it all. You know, your heroes let you down, but it doesn't invalidate the bite model and all the other amazing shit that Steve has done, just like Rick Allen Ross and a lot of other people. I hate these people that throw the baby out with the bathwater too. That's why some of these people in the community rub me the wrong way, where they're like, ooh, you know, Steve is working for the controlled opposition, Steve Hassan, and therefore all of his shit's bad, and it invalidates the bite model, and he's working for the government. And it's like, okay, so he's clueless in certain areas, all right, but it doesn't mean that you can't use that information. You know, as soon as somebody finds out like one bad thing about a person, as if we don't all have bad things, it's a black and white situation where you immediately go, oh, that was my favorite person, but now I don't like him anymore. And, you know, there's nothing you can learn from Louis Jolly and West because he's an MK Ultra doctor and he's all bad, rather than like, you know, maybe you could learn something about how he's an expert in mind control. He's an evil fuck. And it sucks that, you know, a lot in the X community think he's a hero psychiatrist, not knowing he was a evil MK Ultra doctor working for the CIA. He was CIA. Provable fact. And yet you can learn a lot from these fucking freaks. These are the people who know how to brainwash the best. Sorry to go on a rant, man. I just hate the baby with the bathwater shit. Like, you know, you can learn a lot from everybody and use discernment, and you don't have to just, you know, I don't know. You get the point, man. What did you say there, Cricket? Cricket has a never meet your heroes. Yes, exactly. It's true, man. You guys want another book that will thrash your heroes and shit? I'm like a hippie at heart, man. And I was born in the wrong generation. I was born in 73. But if I had been born a decade or a decade and a half earlier, that would have been my spirit animal, man. Like hanging out where I live now, the Laurel Canyon scene right here in Hollywood, where we were taught in the counterculture era that Jim Morrison and the Byrds, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, this incredible music scene that came out right here in Laurel Canyon that was anti-establishment and was going to break down the government and stop the war in Vietnam and shit. That was a total psyop, which we've covered in the channel in depth. And all those heroes that I just named and then some, let's just say they were not only not counterculture, but they were used in a controlled opposition way, of course, as part of bringing in the agenda. So that sucked, because anybody that's read the book Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon by Dave McGowan, the book's not written the best way, and I actually like the articles that he wrote that were online before he made it into a book, but the information is there where if you don't want to have your counterculture heroes from the 60s, not just the musicians, but a lot of actors that were running in the Laurel Canyon scene, don't read that material. And we've covered that on an episode called The Summer of Psyops in great detail, so I don't want to just ramble on more about that. But Cricket, the point that you make there, man, take that to heart, because it fucking hurts to find out that that particular era for me got totally flipped on its head. I still listen to The Doors, man. I still listen to all these bands. I fucking love them. And I think you can still love them. It just took me a while to just be over the resentment, basically, of how much they were fucking tools. So Outback, how many of your cult of Scientology friends who you grew up with have also since left the cult of Scientology? Only one person, Marcus Sawyer. Do you have many Church of Scientology friends still in, even though they saw you as suppressive? Did they keep in touch? Well, as soon as I left the cult, and it was literally one day I went to the church and the next day I was never going to go back because of Steve Hassan's book, snapping me out of the cult in one day, right? So nobody since then has contacted me except for Marcus Sawyer, who's an ex-Scientologist that I ran with. I mean, I talked to a lot of ex-Scientologists that I know of, but that I never actually met out here in LA. Marcus is the closest one that fits that category. And then those that are in, I don't think they watch the YouTube channel. I don't think they'd run across it. Even if they did, they wouldn't watch it. Maybe they would go, oh, fuck, is that Doug? Although maybe I look different nowadays. I don't know. If they did recognize me when they're in the cult and they're just on YouTube, they probably wouldn't click it. Or if they did, I haven't heard about it. Nobody that's done that has reached out to me. So in other words, if they're a Scientologist, they're going to see I'm a suppressive within 5 minutes of the video, and they're not going to reach out to give me a phone call or try to get a hold of me. They're just going to hate me and shit. I do keep tabs on my friends that I miss the most and stuff to see if they're leaving. You know, Jason Doring was a guy that I really liked a lot, and he was a really talented actor that I feel like I can feel his pain, you know, growing up. The amount of Scientology he has to overcome within his family because they're so deeply steeped in it, would be almost impossible for him to get out. But I miss him and think and look for him, to see if there's any new information on him. His dad also just passed recently, as my dad did, and both our dads were top OT8s. Whole lot of good that's going to do them on the other side, if there is an other side. And if there's a hell, I imagine that believing in total bullshit your whole life and sacrificing your kids and everybody in your family and your reality to it probably is not the best choice to make before rolling out of here. Okay, so I hope that, did I answer your question? So do you have many COS friends still in? Yes, Jason's just one of them. I keep an eyeball on certain people. I really look forward to that too, by the way, Outback, when somebody actually does leave that I know here in LA and we can rekindle it'll just the friendship. It will be amazing to sit down with someone and just hang out at my apartment and just talk about this kind of shit, man. Thanks for that really cool question. I promised I was going to go faster, but that's not working. Laura, in your expertise, have you known folks to be dually involved in Scientology and others like Landmark? Good question. I know COS folks and MLMs occur. I got to get my computer clicked. Folks plus MLMs occur. Went to LMF, management with friend, creepy. It's always in the eyes. Yes, indeed. Astute observation. They had something in Scientology called the EST repair form, meaning this EST was so much of a, EST is a ripoff or what they call a splinter group of Scientology. And then it later became Landmark Forum, which is what it's known as today. And that's where you take initially a 3-day to enlightenment seminar, usually in some cheesy hotel where you experience sensory deprivation and offload your trauma in front of a crowd of people. It originally was started by Werner Earnhardt, who formed EST, and he was an ex-Scientologist. And so many people were going from Scientology to EST. I don't know if they did them both at the same time, Laura, but it's possible. But most of them were either going over to EST. Maybe they were mixing practices where I'm going to try a little Scientology and EST, but that's a no-no in Scientology. So they wouldn't have been able to get away with that for too long. But the EST was such a problem, such a big splinter group, like the Process Church was, and then also even Keith Raniere stole a lot from Scientology. They were such a problem that they had a whole repair form in Scientology called the EST repair list to get you over the squirreled tech, i.e. the non-pure L. Ron Hubbard way of doing things that they're getting in EST and what Werner Earnhardt ripped off. I hope that answers your question. And if Laura and other people, if I miss anything and am too stoned to have actually answered your question and got it wrong, or if I only answered a little bit, or you want to add something onto it, please throw them in the comments afterwards, because then I can easily answer them there. MXX Miss Chief FX. Hi all. Just woke up and finally caught a live with Doug. Awesome, man. Good morning. So you're living in our future. It's 5:30 a.m. here in the UK. Yeah, so you're 8 hours ahead. It's currently, so good morning, my friend. It's currently 10:30 p.m. We're just getting ready to roll out of here in 10 minutes. And how does the future look, by the way? Because I'd like to know what 5:30 is going to look like tomorrow for me as well. Another Marlene, you fucking maniacs. 420, we got to keep an eye on you, man, here. You're going to get us all so fucked up we can't actually do the stream. One final partaking before we wind down. I did see it too, by the way, on the, I'm going to turn off the music now for those that don't like it, just so we don't go bonkers, but there we go. One more Xenu Marlene. Again, guys, if you don't cough, you don't get off, so excuse me. Wow. Harrison, what's going down? What's good, brother? Do you think there's a chance we will see a similar cult at the same level like Scientology emerge in America again? I don't know. I'm no expert, but to me, Scientology is just a minor cult compared to the Moonies, who has, it's one of the smallest cults, actually. I consider, if you put it through Steve Hassan's bite model, that the Moonies and the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses, as but 3 examples, are cults, and they're far bigger than Scientology ever is. So I'm sure there's plenty of cults like some of those I just described that are in America that are already far bigger than Scientology. So yes, we'll always see new cults forming, I think forever, unless, and this is a totally hippie utopian idea that I think actually is within the realm of possibility. It's within our power as, with using our brains to actually do, but I don't think it's actually going to happen. So just let me do a little stoner kind of hippie take on this. There's always going to be cults, and there's always going to be people that are looking to heal a vulnerability for something outside of themselves to make up for what they lack inside. Again, I want to say this is all my personal opinion. This is kind of the conclusion I came to by having to grow up and take my mind and power back. And in order to do that, I had to kind of be thrust to the wolves and go through some challenging experiences. We're looking back on it. I realized, yes, I was brainwashed in Scientology, and yes, I was victimized, and I didn't have informed consent by being hypnotized. But there was a deep subconscious part of me that wanted to believe in something I knew deep down was nonsense, that wanted a place to run away to because of the abuse I was experiencing in the family. And I was, that was within my power to undo if I ever wanted to heal myself or go through what I did go through, the PTSD, the coming to terms with growing up, to, understand more how my mind and society works, to stop believing in people, just because that's the easier thing to do rather than maybe, question things more. I learned a ton of stuff. And I think that cults only form because, for various reasons, you're in a transitional phase and you don't know who you are in life. So you get captured. You want to know more about this world like me. Again, I thought there was always some kind of continuity I felt in my life. I didn't want to work the 9-to-5 popping out of the womb. I wanted something more. So that was my ticket into Scientology. And then also, just like following a certain political leader that's going to save you, Jesus is going to save you, or L. Ron Hubbard, to me, I think that there's something psychologically or emotionally going on that perhaps could cause that. So there's always going to be cults until you literally heal your mind and yourself. And I don't see any other way out, because to me, it's not that cults are the problem, not at the root of it. It's the emotional problems and why you want to numb shit with drugs and run to a cult and, fucking throw money at hookers every night, whatever people's addiction are, right? Smoke cigarettes. It's like, to me, this shit only exists as a symptom of what the cause is, which is a deeply traumatized humanity, man. That's why I really got pissed off over the last 3 years, where I'm watching trauma-based mind control happening on a global scale, crushing the world, while people were begging for their servitude and loving it, while they're not understanding, just like I didn't understand in Scientology, what they're a part of and how they're being used to lead into a prison, if you will. So that's a long ramble when I said I was going to do 5 minutes, but I hope that covered your question. And also, Harrison and others, thank you for these stimulating questions, because I know I ramble off of them, but when you say stuff like this, you're triggering stuff where I hope I'm still answering your question, but you're really reminding me of stuff, and that's why I just went on that ramble based on what you just asked there. So A Mischief FX, I'm the same, Doug. I think I'm smoking what they sweep up off the floor. That fucking sucks. So you're smoking dirt weed? Hey man, if it was legal and I wasn't speaking out about Scientology, I might take a chance. I would fucking send you an ounce through the mail. Is it legal where you're at? I wish I could airmail express some of what I have over here, so you don't have to smoke that shit dirt weed. By the way, it's very funny too, just on the weed real quick before I guess we'll take 2 more of them or roll out. It's so weird where I told you how legal it is and how, it's not a problem. But when I was growing up, not only did I have to smoke the dirt weed that Miss is talking about here, where it would be really expensive dirt weed. You never knew what the fuck you were going to get. And my pot dealer, of course, was always stoned himself. So you could never know when he'd show up. There'd be several times I'd meet, and really want it. And then he would flake, and then we'd have to set it up another 2 days later. All the bullshit that you had to go through and the expensiveness of it compared to today's weed and the shit quality of it, looking back at it, was a fucking nightmare being a stoner. in my 20s. And it's just so much better. And I feel your pain if that's what you're talking about. And I would absolutely love to be able to send you over some of this good shit. And that hopefully you live in a place where, like we live, you don't have to worry about it being criminal. You could be locked up and face serious problems in like one state here in America, and then one state over, it's no problem at all. We live in a totally sane world, guys. I mean, that should be obvious by now, right? I mean, that makes total fucking sense. Love it. I can't stand Karen. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah. Anybody that can't suss that just by the vibes that this person puts off, the grandiose way they talk, I don't know what the hell they're looking at. We've done deep dives on her too, and we got to get back to more of that shit. But it's not to stir drama. It's to explain people what the fuck's going on. But we never got to get to part 2, not least because of Karen shenanigans. Oz, Doug, what would you do if we all added Xenu to our name? Oz, we would be plowed within 5 minutes. Oz, Bumby, Xenu. Best of luck. I haven't seen you yet in the chat yet, bro, but thanks for being adding a lighthearted humor and keeping us on our toes tonight. That's very funny. That's actually a perfect place to end off. We've been going for 2 hours. Oh man, I don't want to sound lame here, but I really do appreciate hanging out with you guys. The questions cause an unbelievable healing. Whenever we finish these things on Sunday, I just go lay down on my couch and throw on a movie and just I feel so much better after these. And I could not do this without talking with you guys and hanging out. If only you knew how hard it was to get anybody to listen to a damn thing that I had to say about Scientology when I really needed to talk about it to heal. And I lost all my friends for that. And now I have friends to hang out with that not only will sit here and listen to it, but just are really amazing people that I feel like I get to know by seeing the same names repeat over and over again. Sorry for being sappy, but we are out of here. And Cricket, thanks for your help, man. I don't want to wake up. Should we wait? Is the dog awake, or do we need to show the dog before we go out, or how's she doing? Okay. This is actually perfect, Oz, to even do you one better. We're going to go out with that fucking cutie pie, this real star of the night, the most unbrainwashed of all of us. Because if the humans could be like dogs and have unconditional love like them, the world would be a very, very different place. Friends, as always, stay safe, stay sane, and most definitely stay cold free.
We have the idea of a bridge across the chasm. Now that is an old mystic idea that there was a chasm. There was a chasm between this existence, where we are now, and a higher plateau of existence. And that many people trying to make it fell into the abyss.